Hello, hello. It's about 10 to 7. I'm eating dried apricots. Wanted to come on and do a brief chit chat. See if this populates. I don't know who else is live. And I'm trying to not step on toes. But I wanted to do just a small little quick live to check in. Come here, Fuzzy. You want a treat? There's your treat. Here, Oscar. Here's your treat. Landed on his head. Okay, now that I've got the dogs quiet for a minute, I just wanted, hello, somebody just popped in. I wanted to say hi. I'm chewing on dried fruit. Hello, my BFF. How you doing? Was that Scotty? Did I say Scotty? How are you doing? I wanted to pop on just really quickly and say we do have some updates. Probably everybody's seen the news, but I just wanted to do a quick live for the people that are following through here. They have moved the Petito case from a missing persons case to a homicide investigation. So I was watching the news this morning, and the coroner actually went back out to where the remains were found. I'm not sure why. I mean, we can all make a horrible, determination of why, but I'm not sure specifically why. And not long after that, they updated and said that the case was now a homicide case. So we do have a homicide case. That's good in a lot of ways, because we all knew that we were possibly looking at bad news here. But at this point now, the cops can get a little bit more aggressive with the investigation and questioning and taking people into custody. There were a lot of channels going live today, and I don't keep up with the true crime channels, but because I talk about this topic, I get a lot of recommendeds. And I popped into a channel today that was like 3 or 4 women hosting a chit chat, and they were like live on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, and I was amazed at the setup they had. But the chat was so negative. Like, it was so negative. Yeah, bad juju for sure. Exactly. The chat was so negative. The people were so just insolent. They were so nasty. And everybody was trying to ask questions, but anybody that had a question was being knocked down for the reasoning behind their questions, and everybody was attacking everybody. And hey, guys, I get it. My dogs are wanting more treats. Yeah, I get it. Everybody's upset. Oh, did you find that one too? Yeah, it like blew my mind. I stayed there for about 10 minutes just socially analyzing and profiling people. Like, whoo, you people are, whoo. And I get it. Everybody's nerves and emotions are up. We're all a bit high strung right now because we're very much passionately following this case. We're emotionally involved. And so we get aggressive, and that defense mechanism comes out as anger and aggression. And it goes to people that should not be targets. You should be able to have a conversation with yourself and cool yourself down and come back and have an adult conversation. These people were just nasty. Hey, Denise, I'm glad to see you back. I remember names. And I've been looking for Lisa because it's spelled L-E-I-S-A. I've got to, I'm fixing to send her a wood carving from my son, so. But I was just like, is this how most of the world is getting this information and processing this information? Is this how horribly nasty society has gotten? And they were like calling for the head of Brian Laundrie, which, oh, I get it. We're making our logical assumptions here because we're society. We can do that. Law enforcement can't do that. And so law enforcement has to wait until they have absolute concrete knowledge to take him in on. They have to make sure that those charges will stick, and then it can go through court and they can actually prosecute him for what they believe him to have done. Because if they just nab him on any little thing, you can't charge somebody twice with the same crime. So you got one shot at this. And so they're being super careful because they know that when they want to get him, they have to get him with the right information on their side so that they can prosecute him. And it's scary to see people just like forming the mob mentality already, which I understand that we can have our own opinions and we all kind of know how this is logically going to play out. Oh yeah, well, and yeah, we also have questions. Like, none of this is easy to understand, and we should be able to ask our questions. But the simple just attacking of people that just have questions, that are trying to learn more about law enforcement, more about domestic violence, more about like the homicide law and like misdemeanor assault charges and how they work. And so there's a lot of assumptions being made by a large percentage of society, which in their brain is already authorizing an arrest and prosecution, and it's not there yet. And they get so good to see you too. They get so emotionally drawn in that when it doesn't go their way, the way that they've deemed it to go in the movie in their head, which apparently they think is the only one that exists, then they get frustrated and it comes out as a defense mechanism as anger. And this was the most toxic chat I have ever seen in my life. I was just, I just kind of was like, these are grown people. These are, and mostly grown women. And I was like, oh God, we could do better than this. And I watched that for a few minutes and I thought, I'm glad that I can come on here and say, if you want to learn about the topic, learn about the case in a quiet, non-exaggerated way, and then hear other people's opinions and other people's takes and other people's ideas, and have someone actually chat with you, talk with you about your ideas and your beliefs, you can go to Down Under Crime Talks and go at Sharon. You can go to Sharon's channel, and she has the best group to chat with. They're not aggressive in any way. Yes, that's the other thing that came out. There was a second 911 call that came out, and I believe this one came out of Utah. And this 911 call actually showed that it had the witness that stated that Brian was actually the aggressor. He was slapping Gabby. So I was actually, I know people are like, you're going to get lost at what I said, but I was actually glad to hear that. And people are like, what? You're glad to hear that? I was. Because with just the one call being made and the police showing up, it looked, even though I said this is probably a cycle that they both participate in, it looked as though she was the prominent aggressor, and in that incident she may have been. But I said, like I said, I think this is a cycle. They do this often. They're both participating. It's a toxic codependent relationship. Well, if that had been the only record, then he would have been able to have come forth and stated, I've been in a domestically violent life for years, and finally I had to defend myself, and it turned into this. And I was like, this is going to be his defense. I was super scared that we were going to lose track of what was really important here with him going and, claiming that defense. Well, now that we have a second 911 call in a secondary state that says, no, we saw him and he was aggressively going after her. He was slapping her. He was the aggressor. Now we've got that doubt, that reasonable doubt, that will throw out his ability to say I was always the victim. We know he was not now. So that's good. Bad that it had to happen at all, but at least good that we have a record of it. People, this is why I say, when you see stuff like this, make a report. Call it in. That black and white little paper trail is going to help somebody eventually, somewhere, someday. Paper trails are great. They're wonderful things. You should always try to make one if you ever find yourself in any kind of a scenario where you need a backlog of the events you're having to deal with. Even if you don't press charges, do a report. Make a paper trail. So now he can no longer do that. He can't claim that, I was always the victim. I was, had to save my life and this is what happened. And so he can't do that anymore because that was my choice. That was my option of what he was going to do. In my brain, that was the next logical step for him. Now he cannot do that because we have verification. He was the aggressor at times too. Sadly, that 911 operator apparently did not get it to law enforcement, or law enforcement got it, but on, what was more important at the time, they probably had some other more dangerous things going on. So by the time, nobody got to them, they couldn't find them. But luckily in the next state, police did get to them and did find them. So at least we do have now another incident that shows the opposite side. And, it's tragic. It's horrible. I cannot even begin to fathom what the family are going through. But to watch society that's supposed to be, like first world people that live well and should understand how to respect others, we're being absolutely deplorable on the internet with this case. And honestly, not much better than the Summer Wells case. But it was difficult for me to sit there and watch grown people behave in that manner. And then the people that were live streaming behaved about as well. And I was just like, well, we've lost control in this nation. We're just all going with our feels, you know, and that's so wrong. It's so not logical. But we do have a homicide case now. I doubt that they still have enough. Well, I don't know. I doubt they've been investigating and they've gone through 2 homes now, so they may. But before yesterday, I would have doubted that they had enough to actually arrest and hold him. Perhaps today they do, since they've pulled both homes and gone through some tech devices. So I'm hoping that he is found and can come to justice, or at least help us understand what occurred. If he wasn't involved, help us understand what occurred. Because we're all just kind of confused, and I know it would help her family out immensely with closure and healing. So that's what, you know, I don't really want this to lag on forever, but I'm sure, you know, another day of this is too much for the family. So yeah, I was just appalled at what I saw on the internet for everybody and Jesus to witness, and I thought, this is not the way to behave. So if you want a good environment with a good group of people that will genuinely want to chat with you, and if things get nasty, they just kick you out because they're not going to tolerate it. They don't want to go there. It's down under Crime Talks with Sharon. They have a phenomenal chat. I go on sometimes and don't even let her know I'm there. I know that's horrible. Sometimes I say hi, but if they're having a really good conversation, I just jump in and watch the conversation because I enjoy watching positive conversation. And it's like 95% positive. I'm really like tickled with this group of people that they formed a foundation of like help for each other. They come there and they kind of regurgitate what they've heard. Everybody else, yes, we heard the same, and talk about how they feel, and they support each other, and talk about their fears of what may be going on, you know, what may be coming next, and it's just a great little community. So down under Crime Talks, you need to go there. I also know that for people in Tennessee, hey, you caught me live, Shannon. Yes, you did. I'm trying to just be quick. It's just a quick little of knowledge. Because I just told everybody to go watch Sharon's channel if she comes up live. But I will say that one thing I want us to work on is when we see things in the media, or we see things on social media, or we see things on the internet, instead of reacting, sit back and look at it for a minute. And try to strip away the top layer that society has blanketed over the topic. Take away the things that are man-made or man-invented. And then look at it from a purely like humanistic biological being on this earth. And because I just posted a video, and I know I'm going to get lots of hate for it, but I had to post this because in the USA, all we're hearing, and I don't assign to either political party. I think they're both just crooked as a dog's hind leg. But I have to call out the major transition on the left. Because last year we need to have universal health care. It's a human right. And today it's, if you're not vaccinated, we're not even going to allow you to be triaged at a hospital. And I'm like, boy, that human right went really quick, didn't it? Like flushed it right down the crapper. How did that happen in less than a year? Well, it's because instead of creating, you know, actual beliefs that benefit people, they just have beliefs that benefit the self. Yeah, he didn't report her missing. I don't know how he can get out of that. Not reporting her missing, driving the vehicle back, not telling anybody that something went wrong, or he can't find her, what's going on. I mean, whatever occurred, he can't talk himself out of that one. He just can't. But I'm really getting irritated with this pull and this indoctrination that's happening in this little box. Because I tell y'all, you don't have to believe anything I tell you. Go look it up yourself. Go look it up. Go do research. Pull a lot of it. And I'm telling you, libraries are so much better than Google. I'm just going to say it. But go and look at what's happening in the world today. Because literally within like the same 48-hour period, you've got Pelosi telling people that the Republican Party is a cult. Which I think, honestly, if you go crazy on any belief, you can reach cult status. Well, it's a big misunderstanding, and something I'd rather clarify it than run away from it. But that's a good one, ain't it? But we've got Pelosi saying the Republican Party is a cult, and stressing, forcing this jab and all this fear into everybody. And then at a concert, we've got that base of people, that base of consumer per se, acting very cultish. And so when I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, so that's a tactic we use on the other party, but we use it on our own if it benefits us. So who's the cult? I guess everybody's the cult. Well, I'm not the cult because I'm not following anybody down this road. I have making my own path here. And, oh yeah, it's a big tug of war. Absolutely. It's a tug of war on each side. And I'm trying to just go, no, it's okay. I'm going to go over here to the swings. We'll see y'all later. And so I'm just sitting here going, really? Is that what we're doing? Is it okay? So if you tell them that they mess with their mind, but in the meantime you mess with their mind, and in the meantime you're also getting in the social hierarchy the important people to mess with their mind, and you're beginning this big rift, this big segregation in humanity. Why? Power? Money? Don't you have power and money? I mean, like all of our freaking politicians end up being millionaires. How does that occur? How does that happen? Because I'm pretty sure they don't make that good of money. What are they doing? Huh? Have we ever investigated that? No, shh, we don't want to talk about that. And I'm just sitting here going, you already have power and money. What else do you want? But I mean, they want more power and more money. And that's as intoxicating as anything else that society is going through right now with all of this media and wordplay and vocabulary mincing. And I'm just terrified of what the world has become. I need to go and screen record some of my Facebook lives from last year and the year before, telling people, that the way society will change is how we decide to walk back out our doors after lockdown and learn to interact with each other again. And they're like, we know how to interact, Elizabeth. We're gonna be fine. And I'm like, no, we're not. This changes the rules. Yeah, we didn't play that one out too well, did we? But I don't know. I'm just sitting here trying to go, people. If you feel that someone is asking you something that's a little off, it's probably a little off. You might want to go, huh? And pay attention and find out where that came from. Follow the paper trail, follow the money. Because there is a huge use of media. Hello, Sheila. There's a huge use of media and in Hollywood and fame and power trying to dictate who we are as a nation and where we go. And I'm sitting here going, why are we trying to get people to hate each other on a basis that doesn't have any science behind it, even though they said they're fine, it's fear, yeah. They're say they're following the science, but when you look at science tragically does not turn into the science. And so, and I just, before I would follow anybody, I would vet them so immaculately. Like they would have to have like, the record that gleams white. Hello. And I would have to really fill them out for a long time. I would not ever just think that sounded good, so I'm gonna follow them, or that looks good, or that's gonna get me more money, $5 more each month on my taxes, or I would not do any of that. I would have to watch that person and go, what's your main goal here? Where are we going? Where are you driving this bus before I get in it? And I'm not seeing any of that take place, and I'm not even seeing people. I'm not even seeing people be concerned when they watch on the screen. Like, I don't know if y'all have been on the TikToker, but they actually put a video of a nurse. She's at a press conference, and she is supposed to be giving a press release about how her division in the hospital are getting their jabs, and that it's safe and it's effective, and that she wants everybody to know this is going to help us out in the fight against this. And as she's talking, she was the first one to go, and then she goes to the podium. As she's talking, she passes out. She hits the floor immediately. And then you go to research this woman and you find that she died. And so you go on the page and you're like, this is sad. this is a sad outcome. We need to be careful. We need to take a moment and pause and say, I know you're afraid, but does the fear and the findings outweigh, you know, the possible detriment to society? And it was just so sad because people were just being super careless. So, well, and listen, everybody needs to get the jab because it's the only way to keep people safe. But really? Because it's still spreading in places that have like 100% vaccine status. And then they just pawn off the people, you know, the people that are dying from this. They just pawn them off. They don't talk about them. We don't. And so these people that are actually being maimed and harmed and killed are not getting any media time. The only people getting media time are the people saying good things, or the Hollywood, or, you know, the rich and powerful. And so they're casting out the own people that followed them. They're not even, we don't care about them anymore. They're not here with us anymore. They can't help us anymore. That's kind of what I'm seeing from that. And you can't even mention their names, or you can't even ask how they're doing. You know, they're not allowed to be on social media and tell about their story. If anybody's in the hospital recovering from the paralyzation or clots or anything, they're not allowed to tell their story. Why? Why are we limiting information? Always, in every scenario, the best outcome is the most information you can have will help you make the best decision you can make. The most information, always. Never limit information. And I don't know, I just feel like I am being led, you know, in one way or another, and I'm not one to be led. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting belligerently on my fat butt, making my own mind up about this crap. But I watch other people around me playing their emotions, being played, you know, through their emotions, by society, by powers in the hierarchy in society, because they want to, you know, they don't want to look like an outcast or look like the odd person out or make people worry, or, you know. And I'm sitting there going, I look like the outcast. I look like the odd man. I'll make people worry. Because it's my life. And I would hope that everyone, before making any kind of medical decision, goes, this is my life. It's a big deal. I should be concerned about this. So I don't know, I'm seeing this don't question, just go do. And I'm like, people question everything. And even if, you know, you make that decision, as long as it's yours, make it. But question everything before you make it. Yeah, there are a lot of people having side effects, and they're not allowed to mention them, and they're being hugely underreported. Oh, I've told everybody for years, if y'all ever try to find me on the internet and places I've been, I've told everybody for years, I'm in an abusive relationship with my government. I've said that for years, because that is what it has seemed to me, and it's just gotten more and more harsh. And so to see what I saw on the YouTube live with the ladies' channel, I can't even remember what the name of the channel was now. I needed to write it down because I thought I'll remember that, and you see I didn't. But it was like 3 or 4 ladies doing a chat together in squares in the screen, and their chat base, their users were horrible, behaved horribly, were just nasty and antagonistic to each other. And I'm like, wow. And this is just one disagreement they had with the case, just like one small disagreement. And they were just going after each other. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? Well, we got here through fear. No, they say that you're responsible to report it, and that if you come in contact with hospital staff or medical staff, they're responsible to report it. But if you go to VAERS and you start doing research, in the past, things are normally underreported between 6 and 10 times. So whatever the number normally shows it being, it's normally 6 to 10 times that number per historical context. Oh goodness, bless your heart. Denise, honey, sending you some good vibes and healing vibes. Bless your heart. Yeah, we do. We need more domestic violence education. And the sad thing is that domestic violence is handled differently in every state. Like in my state, Tennessee, if they rolled up and seen any marks on anybody, somebody's going to jail. It's just no questions asked. Somebody's going to jail. And sometimes if they can't decide who they think is the aggressor, they'll take both of them. They don't care. As long as they're making sure that, you know, they're trying to stop whatever's happening, they'll take somebody or both to jail. They have no qualms with hauling them both in. But it's different for each state. And women, if you travel a lot and you travel specifically to specific states, you need to know those laws. Oh, Denise, honey, bless your heart. Lord love you. And yeah, and you probably feel a little jilted that you were kind of pushed. You were pushed by society, by media, by the news, by famous people, by word of mouth, by your physician, pushed to make a decision that you didn't probably feel you had enough context to make a decision. And I know there are a lot of people out there like that. They're just scared to speak up because they receive a lot of hate. And I get a lot of hate. That's okay. I think everybody should have their own opinion. And I'm not saying don't get it. I'm saying question everything. Don't do anything until you feel that you've made the right decision for you. And if we're being pressured to make a decision before we reach that, we need to question why we're being pushed. Because there's really, for the lethality and the disbursement infection rate, I can't understand it. I'm just concerned that people don't understand with the manipulation of the cycles and the PCR test being augmented after January 20th, and hospitals being told not to report, not to list side effects, to not tell people that they need to report these things, because we don't know. As normal society people that are primarily healthy, that have never had issues, they don't know that when you have a side effect of something, you're supposed to go and list it and tell them on this website. They don't know that. The hospital's supposed to do it too, but as you can see, it takes time and nobody's taking the time to do it. So we have some definite questions that need to be answered before we can just be herded like cattle into something that is a medical decision. A medical decision is a big decision, especially for people like me that have, I have a neuromuscular disorder much like MS. I have to make a profoundly educated decision when I make my decision. Because it could very well, I am probably about 50 times more likely to have an issue than most people. So I have to really weigh this out and make an informed decision, and I'm just really struggling. Yeah, she did say that he grabbed my face like this. And unfortunately, under like misdemeanor assault and stuff like that, that doesn't absolutely constitute anything that can be, that he can be taken to jail for. Because she didn't have any marks left on her. But I believe had she been more honest, that there could have been intervention there, because the cops really had to talk themselves out of a domestic violence charge. If you watch my video, they did stupendous work. Like, I'm very proud of, was that Sharon? Hi, Sharon. I just did a whole big thing telling people to go to your chat if you are on later. The cops did a whole big, little come together talk and brainstorm about, we have what we need to file domestic violence. And it makes sense. And I'm like, well, duh, that makes sense, so do it. And then they go, but, and they keep bringing up the 110-pound blonde hair blue. Okay, no, we don't throw those in the mix. Those don't go in the bowl. It's not in the recipe. It's like, stop. And it's like, focus on what's there. You showed up at a domestic violence, you have a witness, and there's physical harm. Somebody needs to go to jail to stop this. And basically to create a paper trail and to potentially get them referred to places that can help them, because something's going on. Let's see. Million Mile Club? If you follow society rule and people empowered. Yeah. You have to question everything. Always look for motive. Sharon says, oh wait, yeah, you're welcome. I told everybody that I was in another chat today on a YouTube Live, and it was the most hostile and vicious and nasty chat I've ever seen in my life. And I just kind of sat there going, is this what we're doing now? Oh, okay. And then I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to tell everybody, no. If you see this is where you need to go. Go to Sharon's page, down under Crime Talks. They've got the best chat group. It's a healing place. We're all going there, and we know we're emotional, all helping each other kind of process, learn, educate, and heal. And it's just a really great group of people. Go there. Don't go to what I saw today. That was, I've had less issues with 10 tomcats in my backyard. So it was pretty hostile. And I was just like, oh my goodness, we're not doing this right. But the officers really had to talk themselves out of filing that charge because they inwardly knew it probably needed to be done. It's a pain in the butt because they're so far away from home. They'll have to come back to court. They'll have to travel again. They're super young. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, why you hate to do that to somebody that may just be having a one-time issue. But at the end of the day, if there's physical harm and it meets the criteria in your state for that charge, you probably need to put that charge down. Because there's probably something else going on that they could potentially benefit from, like the court referrals to counseling and victim impact and anger management stuff. Yeah, you have a really good chat, Sharon. You have an excellent group of people. I really enjoy every second I spend over there. And sadly, another thing that tripped up this entire thing is that they were in multiple states. So they're from Florida, but they were in Utah and Wyoming. And so the paper trail goes through several different districts and a few different agencies. And, that's cumbersome at best when you're trying to, follow a track of something that's going on. But I know that, I've been an officer. I was a parole officer for a decade. And you have to make decisions sometimes that you're like, is this in the best interest of my client or me? Is this to save me paperwork or to really make them do something to improve themselves? And I always caused myself a lot more paperwork, but it was because I knew that the benefit outweighed the, what I was going to be wasting on paperwork. It was going to be much more beneficial for them to go through whatever I was going to have to refer or issue. And, there was a couple times that, there's one that haunts me big time. There was a guy that I'd had on for about 3 or 4 months, and he had been very lackadaisical about his supervision. He had not started to complete any of the mandates. He was not trying to find a job. He was not trying to pay his court cost or his restitution to his victim. He was not trying to go to any of his anger management referrals, and he had to go to anger management, and he had to go to another one. I can't remember what it was. And he finally came in one day, and I was like, dude, you've got to do this. You've got to do this because I have to tell them that you're doing this. And if you're not doing this, I have to take you back before them so you can explain why. And he went out the next day to, I guess, start doing this and had a wreck, and he died. And let me tell you what, I felt like crap. I felt like crap for a long time. I still think about him, and I'm like, I couldn't have known that was going to happen. Obviously, it's just one of those random things we're all, can happen to us. But I felt bad. I felt bad. And, so I know that the decisions you make and things haunt you. I've got several floating behind me when I go around. Yeah, and it will be in the back of their mind. And hopefully, the way that they'll use it going forward is that they'll remember, crap, I can't focus on height, weight, looks, behavior while I'm here because that doesn't always mean anything. I've got to err on the side of caution for these people. And and they see things that aren't, clear and just cut super clear. They see stuff where they don't know who the victim is and who the aggressor is because they both have just as many war wounds and they both have put in just as many swings and they were fighting, curled up together and arms throwing when they rolled up. And so they have to take them both to jail, and it's for the courts to try to discern because what they saw put them both at, risk. So officers have a very hard job. Yeah, no, there was so much that they could have put on paper for him if they really thought about it. Because that right there is reckless driving. So, they had other stuff that they were really, I really think they were trying to be nice because they were out of state, they were going through multiple states, they were young. But, those kind of people have serious issues too. Oh, my shirt says tattooed lowlife. I love it when I hear people say, well, people with tattoos, they're just not smart, they have no education, and they're not nice people. And then I'm like, huh? So this is my poke at people that think I'm a tattooed lowlife. I will wear this. I wear it to the grocery store and stuff when I go because I'm just like, I don't care. Poke the bear. So, but it makes people think. It makes people think. I also have one that says, fun fact, I don't care. I had a woman stop me the last time I went to town. I went with my mother to pick up some of my supplies for Granny, and I had a woman stop me. She goes, "I love your shirt." She's like, "I wish I could wear one of those." And I was like, "You can. $14.99 eBay." Oh, goodness. Okay, one says, whatever. Oh, yeah, Pelosi says about someone else. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that. It's been projection. And and the right's just as guilty in many ways. I will say at this time that it seems like, from when I was a child to now, it seems like the parties have done a switch, because now I've got conservatives screaming for medical autonomy. And I'm like, when did that happen? So I've seen a switch, which is good to know that the conservatives will stand up and go, wait, no, that's not right. But I don't know, the blind mobs, the attacking, the social issues, people said that IDs were racist, but now everybody has to have a Vax ID. Nobody's saying anything about that until somebody tries to go into a restaurant in New York, and now those IDs are racist. But how about just inhumane for people? How about just an inhumane request from our government that we just don't need to comply with? Why do we have to wait for something to be racist for it to be wrong? Can't it just be wrong toward humanity? Oh, you're braver than I am. I've got quite a bit of, I've got my back done too. My back actually says, one joy scatters 100 griefs. And so if I wear a shirt where my back shows, I get a lot of comments on my back piece. But I have a lot of tattoo on me. I've got a lot of ink on me. And I don't know if I'm brave enough for the eyeliner. Like, I don't wear a lot of eyeliner because I can't put it on very well. And my eyebrows, since I was pepper sprayed, and that stuff was, I mean, it was like 3 cans of the big CO Max Power stuff, and I had to sit in it for 25 minutes. And by the time I was in the hospital for 4 days for chemical pneumonia, I had basically rubbed the skin and the eyebrows off my face with rags to keep my eyes from burning. And like, this one didn't grow back right. It's got a little gap in it, and I tell everybody that's my gang affiliated eyebrow. Just to have something funny to say. But now I was raised by a Baptist minister that was straight as an arrow, that did not want, and I've always questioned, some motives that I saw growing up as well. So I question everything. Yep, media is business, and they want money and power. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, Million. Yeah. That's when we'll see a generation of idiots. Like, how many generations did you see where all they had was the Encyclopedia Britannicas, and they were more knowledgeable about the world they lived in? Like, I see people that go and do these interviews on the coast of Florida, and they ask simple things like to name the continents or to name the seas, and they can't do it. And then they ask them, what continent are you currently standing on? And they don't know. And then they ask for the president and the vice president's names, and they can't tell them. And I'm like, you've got to be 22, 23. How do you go through an age where you have information right here, and know nothing? Absolutely nothing. And back in the day, all we had were Encyclopedia Britannicas. I would sit down and start to read them, and I would read them from front to back, because I was at home, and it was wintertime. There was 6 feet of snow outside, and all my horses and sheep and cattle were tucked away, and I would sit there and read, just to stay busy, to have something to do. And there were kids that were so much smarter because they knew the information they were getting was from a good source, and they didn't have to question everything. And sadly, most people want to read a headline, but they won't read more than 2 lines down into the story, and they never get to understand the story. Like the whips and the border stories today. Did y'all see that? Oh yeah, it's definitely, yeah, they're trying to no, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I've been on my device for 12 hours today. I've consumed so much knowledge. The Kardashians are not knowledge, honey. It's like, research something, learn something, watch a documentary on nature or civilizations, or do something that helps. because the Kardashians are not teaching you anything. But did y'all see the border and the whip story? That shows the programming that's going on in this nation, where they can see a picture, not even know what it is, throw up a headline which is fictitious and false, and it's done the damage because everybody reads the headline, they don't read the corrections. It wasn't a whip, it was split reins. Split reins are about 7 foot long, and they're used so that the cowboy has basically an extension to smack his horse's back or to smack his shoulder, because horses that neck rein with cattle primarily, have foot cues. And so if you don't get him to go with that, you can pop him or swing that in his eye line and he'll turn that way. I showed horses for decades. I've ridden since I was 3 until I got so fat I couldn't after all my surgeries and my diagnosis. So I was just like, and people just swallowed that up, and it was just like, good Lord. But y'all, I appreciate you stopping by. You just don't ever have to, don't ever feel obligated to listen to everything I say to be here if you just want to come back. I'm just yapping. But I don't know. They don't even try to hide it anymore. So, and people don't even try to hide, their little animalistic behaviors. We've gotten to a place where we're so self-assured that we've been programmed so much to think that we matter more than anybody and our decisions matter more than anything, that we just yell them and scream them and try to subvert people immediately. And we don't even realize the other person is also handling that same concern. So whose reality are we really in? And have we forgotten what it's like to have a shared reality that we can function within? How do we get back there? How do we turn people away from avatars and being real people again? And that's my concern. Because I honestly, truly believe this is a mass psychosis of some type currently happening. And it's one of the most detrimental mindsets for society to be in, because the power, because of the animosity in the group of people, the power being wielded is so absolute. Because there's no joint group against the power, and the people are split amongst themselves, so the absolute power can basically pull off anything. And so I just, all this stuff that I'm seeing happen on the internet, that behavior from adults, domestic violence going up over 200 times, over 200% in India. Domestic violence has increased since lockdowns. On average across the globe, it's gone up between 40% and 75%. So has self-harm and suicide rates. They've gone up astronomically. And yet, still we're saying we've got to stay locked down to save lives. Obviously, we're not doing that. And the fear that we're using to promote that is now causing other issues to occur. Basically causing the downfall of society. And so I'm just trying to sit here and go, sit, think, question everything, study hard, try to understand where other people are coming from, try to speak to them from a place of love. You can have your beliefs, but you have to allow them to have theirs as well. And if you can't communicate about them effectively, then stop, because having fights on social media is absurd when you're an adult. There's no reason for it. And I want to see humanity love each other again, care about each other, care about what's going on. I'm watching Australia protests late at night when I can't rest, and wondering what's going on with my brothers and sisters down over there, because I know that whatever's occurring there is probably just about 2 or 3 months from happening here. That's how it normally shifts around the globe. So I'm watching, and I'm trying to say, okay, well, was that the best move? What would have been a better move? How can we combat this in a different way? How can we help people understand this is going to occur and be prepared before it happens? And, and other people just seem to not even want to pay attention to it and not even acknowledge it's happening. And then when they get on social media, they end up having huge fights about beliefs and ideologies, which we're supposed to have. But we all have to have them. We have to allow other people to have them. We have to learn how to communicate again. That's why I said our vocabulary, our language is being hijacked to where it doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean. And I'm just flabbergasted. I'm just in one of those, I don't know, today's one of those days. But at least with Gabby's story, at least now it's been moved to homicide. Law enforcement can become more aggressive. They can, hopefully with the searching of the homes and the tech devices, they will have enough to solidly put an arrest warrant out on whomever they believe is the prime suspect, which we all know who we think it most likely is. Could there be a huge outlandish story of something occurring and he just handled it all wrong and is in shock? And yeah, is it likely? No, but it could happen. Is it likely? Probably not. The statistics say probably not. So we just have to wait, and hopefully they get him taken into custody and we get some answers. Because of the me generation, there's no respect or accountability. There's not. No one's ever accountable for anything anymore. It's always somebody else's fault. And it's just like, really? And they just pawn it off. And that's one reason, you know, I liked my job as a counselor. Kazi. I wonder what my dog's into. I liked my job as a counselor, but I will say that the last couple of years, it was as if we were making excuses for people. And I was like, that's wrong. We're not to make excuses for behavior. We're supposed to identify the source of it, help them understand why they're, you know, using this behavior predominantly rather than using a productive, positive behavior, and then help them process and retrain themselves how to, you know, be appropriate. And now they just wanted to like excuse everything. Well, she's handling this, or he's handling that, or, you know, they're having difficulty with this. Well, we're all having difficulties. Nobody gets a life that everything goes right. No matter who you think has it the best, they have problems. We all have a life where something or multiple things go wrong. And we have to make bad, horrible decisions about bad, horrible things, and we have to get over it and go on. And it kind of became, if you were in a certain wealth pocket, you could go and basically have somebody tell you that it's okay. It's okay that you get up every morning and you throw a flower pot at your mother. You're troubled. I'm sorry, it's not okay that you do that, and if you get much older and do that, you're going to be going downtown to see the popo. So we need to figure out what's prompting you to act aggressively before anything else, because it's going to really suck once you get about 16 to 18 and you can be charged as an adult if you do something horrible, you know. So we need to talk about this and figure this out before it progresses into something worse. And they would go, oh, how dare you be so point blank with them? Well, really, because I think the last 3 years that they've had counseling, they probably should have figured out by now it's wrong. We need to move forward. There's been no forward momentum. There's been no change in behavior. We need to move forward and figure out what we're dealing with, because obviously the last 3 years of counseling have not done it. And so people would get kind of irritated with me, but it was because these kids that were transitioning into adulthood, they honestly thought if they came in with a sad story that everyone would just wilt. You know, and I can have compassion. I can actually even share in your grief. But I'm not going to slap you on the back and say, that's great. Milk that cow till she's dry, buddy. That's not what I'm going to tell you to do. Because that's not going to benefit you in the long term. That's just going to carry your problem 2 years down the road. That's not why I'm here. See, I want to know why people are so hesitant to report their side effects. Is there something actually like that out there where they're listing the people that are reporting side effects? Because you're supposed to anonymously report them to VAERS, and the hospital is supposed to report them also anonymously, but also like give them a medical code in case they need to look up the record for more information. So that's what I'm concerned. I'm concerned why we've got tools to help figure this out to keep us safe, and we're not allowed to use the tools. You know. You know, it probably did start in the 80s, mid-80s at least. When I was a young girl, and, you know, we're like 20 years behind the curve here in Appalachia. When I was a young girl, when we knew to behave. Like if America rolled up to visit my granny, she'd have done cut a switch. Beat the holy living crap out of him. That's how misbehaving we are, you know, it's just horrible. But when I was little, I would go and visit distant family in other states. And they would treat their parents and backtalk their parents. I was just sitting there, I was just like, holy crap. Like my eyes showed. I was appalled. And I was like, you're going to get your butt beat off and I'm not even participating in that, you know. And they never got anything. Never got anything. And then we'd go back home and my mother would tell us that you try anything that you saw exhibited by your cousins and your hind end won't hold shucks. And I'm so glad now that I'm older that my mother did that. Because I see people my age that have no accountability, don't know how to behave, don't know how to think of others first, don't know how to know that their life is the only one in existence that somebody needs to worry about. Okay, Denise, where are you from? Because you're not from the U.S., are you? See, and if I don't think you are, I think I remember you being from elsewhere. In the U.S., nobody can sue anyway. They've already given what do they call it? I just went blank. Anyway, we can't sue for fault of. Okay, well, how come I keep putting you in Canada? I need to remember that. Like, nobody can sue over fault of injury anyway. They've already nixed that one. So, why is it so wrong to anonymously report what's going on? And I mean, I could even understand people being too terrified too, but the hospitals that are required by law to do it, they're not doing it. See, I'm not aware of the injury compensation program. I thought that they had done away with that for this vaccine and moving forward. So if you have any information about that, I would love to read it. That would be great, because I don't have satellite or cable, so I have to search out the information I want to read because I'm in the boondocks. So if you have any information, I would love to read that. So they're not even... Okay, who do you go through to file that is one of my big questions. And verify your injury. Because it would seem like you would have to have like a medical review board, and that medical review board would still send the information necessary if they determined it was vax related. I'm just kind of at awe with how our country is just not being run effectively right now. I'm just in awe of it. I mean, instead of working together and trying to build like something that it functions, we're just stuck, you know, we've got like 90% of everyone is stuck in these polarized teams, and I'm like, but nobody's in the middle working. Nobody's in the middle doing anything productive, and I'm like, can't we stop this now? Let's just work. Let's do work and get out of this hole so we can figure out how to make humanity better, because we're not doing it right now. We're going downhill. But I have been like looking into stuff like that, and especially in my area where the people that are having their lives upheaved by this, they're terribly, terribly poor, so they need financial assistance. And I'm having a very difficult time trying to find any organization or any entity that is taking them on to help them file any kind of grievance to get any kind of financial aid. And that would be like huge for people in my area if we could find out how to do that. If there was an injury compensation fund that they could register with, it would be like game changing for people in my area. Because most, like literally like 70-75% of people in my area do not even have insurance. And so they have to just, you know, take on all the responsibility. I think that's also predominantly why we've had more deaths. Instead of injuries, we've had more deaths because people can't afford to go to the ER, to the hospital. They can't. They just stay home and they die. We're in a poor area. There are still poor areas in America. Terribly poor. And they're way worse than my area, but my area is pretty bad. But there's places way worse than my area. Up there in Virginia and West Virginia, there's places even more remote and more backwards than my place. that's saying something because we're pretty backwards here. I'm just going to tell you. Priscilla D has a channel that she shows you the backwoods and how the flood damaged the roads and nobody's fixing the roads and people are just left to their own devices to clear the roads and maintain the roads. And these are county and state roads and nobody has funds and nobody's taking accountability and they're just saying, hey, hope you have mud tires and, you know, a lot of grit because you're going to have to deal with it yourself. Nobody's helping. They did a small cleanup and nobody's predominantly helping them. There's no financial aid for those people that don't have flood insurance because it's not sold in the packages. You have to buy it separate, and a lot of people don't know that. So a lot of people lost their homes and their livelihoods, but they have nothing to replace it with. And so if you go to Priscilla D's channel, you can see her driving the back roads and showing you how rural and alone you can feel when you are in a place like this. So, yeah, if anybody knows anything about the Injury Compensation Fund, please send me the information to watersworkload@gmail.com. That would change so many lives here if they knew that there was something that could at least help them short term even. Just anything. So, okay. So, I've been on for about an hour. I need to shut up. If you do anything tonight, if you can't sleep or you're just up or you happen to see Down Under Crime Talks pop on, please go and join in the chit chat. Look at how adults can function and talk and share ideas and help each other and show compassion and love and still say, but y'all have a boundary here, I believe this, but you have a boundary there, you believe, and that's okay. We can still talk. Great chat, great people, good group of people, healing channel there, and anybody that has a history of any kind of abuse, there's a lot of people there telling their stories and getting a lot of people to support them, and it's just that they're just healing each other. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, I'll go back through and try to look through it. I'll go back through the things. But I haven't been able to find anything, and when I've called to ask the other agencies, the other government agencies that have offices here, they're only here like once or twice a month. I call and get forwarded down to Nashville or to Knoxville, and I've been asking where people can go for aid in regard to this. I've got several in the area that have called me because they all think I'm like, I don't know, the Wizard of Oz or something. And I've been like shut down on every phone call. I've been like, there's nothing. They're protected. They have immunity from any backlash. And you're screwed. And I'm like, I can't tell these people that. They have to have a hope of something. Yeah, well, and that's where that's where I thought everybody was supposed to report it, and the hospitals were mandated to report it to VAERS. But obviously, from the information that we saw last night that was leaked from a professional, they're not doing it. So, you know, how can we, if we know what's set up to help us understand possible outcomes and scenarios is not functioning correctly, then how can we trust the stats that are being given, and how can they keep pushing the population when the numbers keep climbing? And it concerns me. But I'm one of those people that I question everything, and I want everybody to question everything because it served me well in my life. And so I would hope it would serve you just as well. So I don't want to push anybody to do anything. Just I want you to make a decision that you're comfortable with and that you make, and make that decision and go on with that decision, whatever it is. I just know that because of my medical issues and having something so close to MS and having bad reactions in the past, I'm being told to wait. And I'm being told to wait because I have a much more amplified possibility of becoming ill. Okay, I'll look, and then what I'll probably do is probably just try to call a few more agencies tomorrow and see if I can get anything. Yeah, see, he's in Cleveland, Tennessee, and that's kind of the story I'm getting. I'm getting shut down with every call to every, like, I even sent to my representative, John Mark Middle, I was like, dude, hey, where can I get this? Like, I've known him since I was in high school. And I'm like, where can we find this aid for these people? There's got to be something out there, a foundation, a charity, something. And he's like, I know nothing in this state, Liz. I know nothing. He's like, nationally, they've basically given them all immunity. There's nothing. And so that's why I'm digging, because I've not been able to find anything yet. And I'm gobsmacked that we would roll out this program without certain safeties in place, just in case something like this occurred. But it is what it is these days. Okay, well, see, that's what's happening here, because nobody's getting that. Ain't nobody getting that. They're signing stuff, and it's being kept wherever they're getting jabbed, but they're not getting anything. The first time that they ever gave it out in the county next to me, they lined them up in vehicles, wouldn't even let them out of their car. Took a card from them that had information and gave them a tab that had a number, but there was no paperwork that transpired. And I was like, you let people put chemicals in your body and you didn't get a piece of paper to prove it? It's like, what? I don't give my horse a penicillin shot without putting it on the calendar, you know. So it just boggled my mind. Okay, my email, Denise, and honey, I bless your heart. Thank you. You are going to help so many people. My email is watersworkload@gmail.com. And any information would greatly benefit this little population, because we're all coming up to dead ends, such as the man in Cleveland, Tennessee also. And to the man in Cleveland, Tennessee, if you want to email me to stay in touch, anything that I get, I will forward to you. And I'll also probably say it on here. Yeah, they're not giving any paperwork here. Like, I'm sure the pharmacies that are giving it have something on file, but they're not leaving with any paperwork. They're being asked to sign something. They're not being given anything. And if you like, you know, you go to one of the drive-in jabs, you get nothing. You might get a post-it with your next, like if you have the 2 shots, you might get a post-it with the next date on it. But you're not getting anything to prove or verify what's going in you or what date you had it, or prove that you had it. Nothing. And so a lot of the people that got it when the first county over started doing it, they had to actually request proof for employers when everybody went back to work, because they had screwed it up so bad. So, and they're still, like, I'm asking people, did you get anything? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's why I'm hoping maybe the pharmacies just start handing it out, but surely they have to have records somewhere. But yeah, they're not getting any paperwork. They're not having any information about this is not making it to them at all. You know, about what to do just in case, or, you know, in case of emergency, call this. Nothing's being shared. But I went through the pharmacy to pick up my blood pressure medicine the other day, and I can't imagine why I have high blood pressure. And I asked them, I was like, could I have paperwork on the different options here? And they were like, you can come in and you can read about it before you have it, but we can't give it to you through the drive-thru. It's just, we can't keep up with the paper. We couldn't provide that for everybody that wanted it. You just have to come in. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I just drove on. I thought, wow. You know, because if it was so important, I would think that the cost of paper would be nothing. Okay, Wayne, yes. Yep. Stay in contact, because if I know anything, it will be on here or it'll be an email. Wow, no, they're not giving anything. Not even a signature page. Nothing. And they get like a little sticker that goes on something they get in the mail for their employment. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's all? And they're like, that's all we got. And I was like, it's kind of important. I was like, it's kind of important. You need to ask for more than that. But I also live way back in the woods where protocol kind of goes lax. So it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. But it's also probably why we are having such a difficult time trying to find any kind of compensation fund. So I'm going to be looking in on that one. That is very important to me because of the families here that are struggling. It's so sad. So sad. Eating my dried apricots. But well, that's about all I wanted to say. I've yapped for enough. See? And they did it right. They can't do anything right here. It's just being backwoods. I swear I think it is. But we're going to be figuring this out. This is going to be on my to-do list. This is on my radar now. Okay. Anyway, Petito case is now homicide. Moving forward. Sadly, I'm just, you know, a lot of the details are probably fixing to get gruesome and people are gonna become very emotional again. That's true. It could very well be the deterrent taking over, yeah. I just want people to make informed decisions. Whatever your decision is yours, but make an informed decision. But as you're on the internet for the next couple of weeks, realize that this story is fixing to get much more emotional. People are going to get much more high-strung emotionally. They're going to be snappy. They're going to be condescending because they're coming from a place of fear and hyper-emotional context. So over the next couple of weeks, the internet and the Gabby Petito story is going to be, I mean, it's just going to be just highly combustible material. It's going to go boom everywhere, I'm afraid. And there are going to be a lot of people that have been in domestic violence or in some kind of abuse latch onto the story. They're going to either process it in a positive way or a very negative way. And what I'm asking everyone that watches me is to pay attention and to try to not interact with people that are going negative, because that only keeps their momentum going to stay negative. So if you see anybody being negative, just don't interact. Don't interact, and just go to another channel and find some positive people that are handling it in a more positive manner. And because I'm afraid that this is going to be one of those that could have like a ripple effect through society for a number of years. And the sad thing is in this nation, we have to realize that it's just as likely to occur with the roles reversed as it is this way. And we can't lose sight of that as well. We have to fight and champion the cause for all victims, no matter what gender. And so we have to really be careful how we talk about this and how we behave when we're interacting with people about this, and try to stay positive and try to promote healing instead of division. And if you're on pages with YouTube creators that go negative, or that get really nasty, or that are doing things that they should not be doing to get, information, speak out, let them know. I like to watch your channel, but if you're going to do this, it's going to deter a lot of good people from watching your channel. How about we use this option? Because most of them will, if they think they're going to lose viewers, most of them will rein it in. Yeah. He says it was a problem before they ever hit the road. Yeah. And remember when I said this looks like the pattern coping behaviors, the pattern coping skills and coping mechanisms, it was patterned because they used them a lot, which told me this was not a one-time event. So it was a cycle. And I believe there was a cycle that they were probably both playing both sides. So they were probably each the aggressor and the victim in multiple scenarios. And it just kind of, that's why I'm so glad the second 911 call was caught, so that the witness stated that he was the aggressor, so that he can't pull the victim card very much. So that's one reason why I'm happy that that other 911 call was received. So it is a homicide now. Things are going to be amping up. A lot more information is going to be coming up. There are going to be a lot of people trying to take advantage of that on social media to get clicks and views and bodies in their little rectangles. Be careful who you choose to follow. If you hear something and they state it's fact, research it before you stick it in your brain. Make sure they're telling you what's what and the truth. And then if you're going to be part of communication, try to be part of positive communication, because negative communication is not needed, because we're all so super negative right now anyway. Thought-provoking and negative are very different, and sometimes it's the delivery that counts. So think about that. But I just wanted to get on here and say that. So it's, we're going to ride a roller coaster again for a couple weeks. So everybody, buckle your seatbelts. It's about to get bumpy. But just stay positive and stay being good. Stay being good to each other. Be good to people. And if you need a place to have good chit-chat without getting the really polarized, excessive people, go to Down Under Crime Talks. It's a pretty consistent, solid, good, positive chat with people that are trying to create a healing environment. And I go just to watch people, because they're so well regulated. They know what they expect from each other, and so they don't allow a lot of the banter that's allowed in other places. That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if anybody's pulled a background and tried to do it. I'm not willing to pay money to get information on somebody that's going to come out in 2 weeks. I'm lazy. But I mean, there was a lot of immaturity being shown. And, you know, kids these days, young adults these days are just not aware of the legal system, the justice system, the rules, the laws, you know, the mandates that keep us all safe. They're not aware of that little place where it goes from, you know, socially approved to not approved at all. They don't understand when they're getting there, because all they can see is their you know, their version of the truth. And we've got to really, like, the next generation that comes up behind this generation, that we've got a couple generations that are just going to probably just, I'm really concerned about the decisions they'll make as adults. And then the next one coming up is probably going to be hyper aware because of having to clean up the mess. Maybe after that it will swing back to a more stabilized place. But it's like, the, you know, the next 90 years in this nation, if it lasts that long, knock on wood, is going to be very bumpy, because we do not have people with all the skills they need to be positive members of the human race. That's, I mean, it's just plain as I can put it. And it's social media and the internet that caused it. We've all become avatars that don't live in the world. We're not real, but we are. But don't let us fool you. You know, it's just like, we're all real people. Be real to people. Be good to each other. So I'm going to shut up, because there are going to be a lot of places that are fixing to live stream. I want you all to go enjoy the people that you support. I'm going to shut up, but I will probably be back tomorrow with a video or another live, depending on news releases. And once again, if you have any information about injury compensation for the jib jab, watersworkload@gmail.com. And I thank you all for your time. Appreciate you spending the evening with me, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.